Joining me now to explain why he's got involved and why he believes now is the time for a broad coalition against terrorism is Tommy Robinson, reporter for Rebel Media. Good afternoon, Tom.
Hello, John.
So you're going on a gay march then, are you?
I am going on a gay march. This demonstration was organised before the terrorist attack. It was organised by members of the gay community who are fearful of the consequences of the spread of Islam in cities like Manchester. Because there's been multiple attacks in the gay village in Manchester. There's been multiple attacks and even rapes by Muslim groups on victims there. So they had already organised it. Now, with what's happened in Manchester, we was already covering it anyway as Rebel Media. We was going to cover it anyway. Now it just seems to have got a lot bigger. It's changed from being gays against Sharia to being under the banner Unite Against Terror. I know that you've got Mohan Singh, who's agreeing to speak there. He's a Sikh gentleman, you know him. He's the one who runs a charity that tackles grooming. You're going to have Anne-Marie Waters from UKIP Against Sharia, myself, Kaylin. We're hoping, I'm just waiting for confirmation, we've got a victim of terrorism who was nearly killed and her friend was killed in front of her, and possibly the father of the victim whose daughter was blown to pieces years ago. Talking to Street about...
It's interesting though, isn't it, Tommy? I interviewed Tommy English, one of the gay guys who's organised this a few months ago. I mean, it's interesting that the gay community at last seem to be waking up to the fact that Sharia law is very anti-homosexual and lesbian sex.
They are and they aren't.
And their community.
Yeah, they are and they aren't. There's numbers pushing the line of bigots, extremists, even calling English is getting called a far-right extremist. And so there's still sections, there's still issues. But with what's just happened in Manchester, if this doesn't bring people out, if this doesn't bring all communities together, if this doesn't, now that they're killing our children, yeah, this is that they've arrested 9 people. They believe it's a wider network. We've had 5 of these attacks stopped in the last 8 weeks. 5 of them stopped in the last 8 weeks. If people aren't going to wake up to realising where we're heading now, when you see the military, I've been in London today, I've seen the military outside Buckingham Palace. I went earlier to the Chelsea Flower Show. I drove past the Chelsea Flower Show. We've now got armed guards around the Chelsea Flower Show. This is our future. That's what people need to realise. This isn't temporary now. This is our future. And our future we will end up looking like Israel, where you can't move without seeing armed people, armed military. You have for example, in the bus stops in Israel, this is where we will be in 5 or 10 years. At the bus stops in Israel, you have to have huge metal bollards around them because they're so used to Muslim men just driving cars into people when they're congregating at bus stops. This is our future that our leaders are allowing to happen. John, I've been at a court case today. You know, this is going off the terrorism one. I've gone to a court case today where 4 men have been convicted. They've been convicted for multiple rapes against a young girl who was drunk and lost. She asked for directions in a takeaway. This is the first time I've been able to speak about this issue, because I've been put under a court order.
Is this the one that you were pursuing before and you got arrested for?
It was. Do you know when they arrested me? A video's about to go live explaining what's happened. But what they did, I looked at this case and I looked at the men who done it, and I found out that they've been on bail since September, all bar one. One of them's been remanded, and that's because he fled the country. He's an Afghan asylum seeker who was telling us he was 15, so a child refugee. He's actually, which they've proved now, over the age of 18. They've only just released his name today because they haven't been able to release his name for legal reasons because he's a child. We find out he's a man. He's a man pretending to be a child like many of them were. And he's now raped a young girl with 3 of his friends. And I found out that they've been on bail since September, walking the streets. Not just walking the streets. The takeaway that this girl was raped in, they're still running the takeaway. They've been on bail, still running the business. So when I found this out, I went straight to the business. I went straight to the business and I knocked on the door, and then they shut the business. I then thought, I'm going to go to the court. I'm going to wait outside the court. I'm going to get a picture of these men. And then I'm going to make a video warning people in the local area of what these men have done, or what they're alleged to have done. What they're alleged to have done. We now know it's... Well, at that point, we now know it's what they've done. I went to the court to try and get an image of them. When I was outside the court, they come... They've taken them out of fire exit. The judge made the decision that for their safety, These are the men that have now been convicted of gang raping a child. For their safety, they will be taken out of the firing. Big threat over the camera. Yeah. Now, no one's thinking about the safety of our daughters here. Okay, through this case, why these men are still walking our street. So their safety, they're taken out of the firing. My house is then raided at 4:00 in the morning. I'm then dragged for 13 hours down to Canterbury. I was prosecuted. I had to spend £20,000 for the top QC in the country in order to get me. And I've still only just saying today, I've got a 3-month prison sentence suspended for 18 months. If I get in any brush for the, I've got to go straight to jail for 3 months. If I'm arrested for anything, I'm going to prison for 3 months because I tried to photograph a Muslim man that had raped a 16-year-old girl. And the only reason I do it was because I felt I needed warning that these men are walking our streets. It's the same with the counter-terrorism issue. 3,500 to 4,000 are walking our streets. Why? Why, when we know what they're planning to do? Why, when this man is convicted? Why, when they had DNA evidence on these men, John, they raped her multiple times in every way she could have been.
And today they got sentenced. They've got found guilty and sentenced today, did they?
No, they've been convicted today. So they've been found guilty on all accounts. All 3 accounts, all 4 of them have been found guilty. They've been in about 6 weeks. So they've now been remanded. Now they're in jail. Why now? Why now? Why have they been? When I look at what happened, I went to America for 2 days. I got remanded straight away. I didn't get let out. Like two men in London, Polish men, drunk. They threw a bit of bacon near a mosque. They got remanded. They didn't get let out at all. They got remanded, and the reason they were remanded was for their own safety. And then when they were put in prison, they were violently beaten. So this is what's happening. This is our justice system. This is currently where we're at. There's 29 men currently on bail for allegedly raping 118 young English girls. This is in the city of Huddersfield. I found out now that 2 of those men are working in a local chicken shop. This chicken shop has complete contact with young children. It's like, what is it going to take? Why is this happening? Why is this being allowed to happen? And then why when I think now, I'm still going to actually. I'm going to expose those men working in that chicken shop. Yeah, I'm going to find them. But then I'm walking a tightrope. I'm going to end up in prison for 3 months. For what?
You will go to prison if you do that, Tommy, because you'll be breaking the law because they haven't been, whether we like it or not, they haven't been found guilty yet. Let's go back quickly if we can. Let's go quickly if we can back to the Gay March, and then I want to come back on to Manchester itself. So what do you hope the Gay March or do or solve?
I hope that there'll be mass numbers. John, I hope you're going to come along as well. I hope there'll be mass numbers. I hope that it's an opportunity for people to come out. It's an opportunity for every background. We've got Mohammed Farage, we've had him on your show before. We've got all different speakers coming out. Just enough's enough at this point. The government needs to understand that enough is enough, because I get caught completely in 2 minds. Yeah, I get caught completely in 2 minds. You're trying to do the right thing, and then I'm looking at the situation thinking, well, I think we should be finding these 3,000 men. I think we should be finding them, highlighting them, and saying, you need to do something about them. It's not just a waiting game. When you see our children being blown to pieces, that's where we're at. When you see that, it comes a point when, if the government are failing, if the police are failing, if these men are still at risk to us, if these rapists are still walking our streets, I've got a friend, John, when I look at all the things that are going on, I've got a friend who I grew up with who's never allowed to step foot in Luton again, okay? He's on a life licence from prison. He can never come back to Luton, okay? Why have they not done that to these men in Rochdale? Why are these men in Rochdale walking around the same city where they terrorise those girls? Why are these laws that are implemented on other people? Why are laws that are implemented on football hooligans? Why are those laws not implemented on terrorists? Why was this man allowed to go to Libya? Why was he allowed to go to Syria?
Precisely. If they can stop people going to football games, why couldn't they stop this guy coming in and out of Libya? You're exactly right. I can't argue with you on that.
Because people will be screaming on his defence.
Do you think the government is going to get a grasp on this, or do you feel that we're just waiting for the next atrocity, Tom?
Have you seen one government figure come out and say what needs to be said? I've seen a lot of other people. Have you seen any leadership in our country come out and say, this is it now? This is what we needed to see. We need to see, Theresa May should have been on our TV and saying, we're going to get them. We're going to stop them. They'll be deported. Their families will be deported. They'll be out of our country. And people say you can't kick them out if they're born here. We have allowed we haven't allowed, our leaders have allowed 450 trained ISIS fighters who have been out there fighting to come back. They're back. We haven't allowed that, our leaders have. Now, they should be rounded up, all 450 of them now, and they should be imprisoned indefinitely. They should be held. When we're in war, which we are, these men are foreign enemy combatants fighting against us. You can't just let them walk the streets until they attack. If that is not, you are failing your duty of protection for your citizens of your country by doing that. These men have sworn allegiance to a foreign enemy. That's where we need to. But there's so many people who still, even when I'm watching the Muslim reaction to this and the leadership reaction, all I keep hearing them talk about is a Muslim got a dirty look on the train. So no, I don't care about that. I don't think anyone else does anymore. When you see the statistics and the polls, when you see that the majority of Muslims in the UK would not report a fellow Muslim for going to join ISIS, 66% would not. We then know that the majority of Muslims in the UK are not fighting our battle. So it's about time, and I'm not going to get worried. And when I sit on the TV and I see on the news, so someone got a dirty look or someone got spat. Well, if we're going to make a big news about someone getting spat, I get spat every week. If you're going to make a big news about someone getting spat, when we know right now, as I'm talking now, there's a young English girl being butchered and raped by gangs, and you're making a massive news on my deal about someone thinking you're a dirty look. I think everyone should be at the end of their tether with this. Just think, it turns.
Are you worried? Are you worried that there's going to be real trouble? That this is going to kick off? Inevitably, I don't see any other. The way they're pushing it, like the way they're allowing it to get so bad. Like, I don't think we're far away from a school being targeted. And then a school being targeted. Do you know what I expect them to do at some point? This is what I expect them to do at some point. Just a general street, a housing street. One night, they'll just bust the doors off and start killing. Yeah? Because the goal of these groups is, because of Surah 8, verse 12 in the Quran, strike fear into the heart of the disbeliever. Now, what that would do, if they targeted a random road, this is what they did in Lebanon. You have to, when you read the history of other countries, in Lebanon one day on a Friday, at night, they just set up a couple of roadblocks in the middle of the night. They pull people out of the cars, because everyone in Lebanon has your religion on your ID. And they just killed all the non-Muslims. Yeah? And then they disappeared. So when everyone woke up, there's just dead people everywhere. Now, after that happens once or twice, people stop going out at night. People stop driving the streets at night. People are scared. It works. That's what they want. Okay? Now, we're letting it get to the position where they're going to do that. It's like I watched the Beslan massacre in 2004. So hang on a minute. Hold on. How would you stop it now then, Tommy?
I'd get rid of all the men that we know are working and fighting against us, that have signed up for ideology, least of all the 450 people we know have been fighting for ISIS. They're the first 450 that there should have been military raids on their houses and should have been taken, and they should be put in a prison somewhere like the Falklands or on one of our land, similar to Guantanamo Bay, and held indefinitely, held until this war is over, held until until Islam and the Islamic community decide how to sort their own house out. Because they're a danger to us. They're a danger to our kids now. That's the point. They're a danger to our children. They have specifically chosen to target a venue that would have you. I get so frustrated with it because I can see what's coming every time. Every time I think we know where we're heading here. This is going to happen again. Only 6 weeks ago, our leaders were lighting candles. Now they expected us to light candles again. And what, in another 6 weeks, light candles again? You just keep lighting candles while they keep blowing up our kids.
Thank you very much. There's Tommy Robinson talking about the march they're going to have in Manchester against terror, a march against terror, gays against Sharia, June the 11th. I'm sure we'll be covering it and talking more about it. And also, I let Tommy vent there a little bit. I wanted to hear what he thought, what he felt was happening out on the streets of Britain. It's a pretty depressing picture. What a show. What a week. What an incredible week.